Hello, this is Alejandro Bratti from Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business, and welcome to Spanglish World Networks on Single TV channel 250. Please remember to download both the Single TV app on the respective iStores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free and it's available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Roku, and all smart TVs. Today, I am very thankful that we have Gary with us. He's very late at night and he's awake because of us. So thank you, Gary, for being here with us today. And I know that this show is going to be really amazing.
Thank you, Alejandro, for inviting me. Thank you. It is late. I'm calling from Italy, and it's 10 p.m. here. So there's a background. It's all dark, and everyone's getting ready for bed. But I can imagine where you're calling from. It's in the afternoon, so it's in the middle of the day. Yeah.
So, well, I had the pleasure of knowing Gary last week. We had, well, a couple of weeks ago, but really last week I had a good conversation with him in his program, and he's doing something amazing, and that's why I am like excited about today. Like today is going to be knowing more about Gary and everything that he's doing and the way he's managing things. And there is another thing that for me is very interesting. I have an Italian family too, and you are Italian. And I believe you are the first Italian I am interviewing. So this is awesome for me. And I have been doing this almost for 3 years. So this is very, very good having this opportunity to talk with you, Gary. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what are you doing now helping people, because and then we're going to go back in your life with all the things, how you become who you are right now.
Okay. Well, I'm not Italian. I want to clear that, because people say I live in Italy. I'm married to an Italian woman, and I've been here 25 years. I live in Verona in the north of Italy. So I'm adopted Italian, let's say.
Almost Italian. That's almost okay.
Italian. Yeah. The way I dress, the way and I'm almost Italian. Anyway, but I'm originally from the UK. I was born in London, and I came to Italy 25 years ago by chance. I was just going through Verona, and I met my girlfriend, who became my wife, who became my partner, my life partner. We started a family. I opened my business, and I've been here 25 years. So I'm not English. I'm not Italian. I like to think I'm a global person, because wherever I go, people say, "Are you Indian? Are you English? Are you Italian? Are you South American?" People ask me nonstop. I don't know who I am.
I am a human.
I'm a human.
That's exactly, and I understand that completely. I have been talking about that a lot of times, and I feel the same, exactly the same. I am from Guatemala, Italian parents, like living in Mexico, a kid that was born in Panama. So suddenly I have like all nationalities in my house. My wife is Mexican, so we have like a lot of, just in my house I have 4 different nationalities. So I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Gary, I know that you had some time in the corporate, and then you started to create your own business. But I want to understand a little bit more about you, like a little bit more about your life in the past, so we can start to know a little bit more. Like, okay, you are from England, you was born there. How was that process of being there, and then how you decided, like, oh, I'm going to stay in Italy? How was that process?
I think we need more than 1 hour to hear the whole story. But I'll give you some snippets and a little bits. Like I was born in the UK to mixed parents, you know, Anglo-Indian. So my mother is Indian, father, and so there was a period when we actually were taken back to India. My brother and I. We lived in India for 10 years. This is just to give you some background on on your TV program, talking about belief and believe in yourself. Okay, So I came from very humble backgrounds, and my background was like for 10 years I lived in India. We lived in an orphanage. At the age of 10, I was brought back to England. And so I didn't know who I was, basically. I didn't know whether I was English, Indian, coming from India to England, freezing. Food was different, the culture was different, and I was completely lost. Um, However, one thing that really stood in me, and I believed in myself, was I had to become independent very quickly.
Mm.
So at the age of 10, maybe even too quickly, I began to mature, and I needed the independence of financial independence, because my family were very poor, very sort of they were working in factories, and we didn't have any luxury. We didn't have any holidays or big houses. We lived very simple life. And so there was a big drive to actually become independent. And so from the age of 10 to the age of 17, well, 16, let's say, I was completely just like a fish out of water, because I didn't know where I belonged. I didn't know whether I was back in India or back in England. I was just completely confused. At the age of 17, I joined the Merchant Navy.
Wow.
The merchant navy is like you have the Royal Navy, which is the armed force, and then you have the merchant navy that actually supplies fuel, ammunition, and so on for the for the Royal Navy, but also has commercial ships and so on. So I joined that, and so the story is like when I was 17, again I went away. So from 17 to the age of 25, I was in the merchant navy, sailing around the world, and time until I changed career, changed direction, and came back to England. So,
Wow.
Alejandro, if you have any questions, interrupt me, because otherwise.
I have a question before you continue in the area of feeling independent, because it's in, I know what that means, but when you were 10 years old and starting to be independent, what was the struggles of like, oh, I need to be independent, I need to mature? What, with everything that you know right now, what was really happening in Gary, and what was that process, and how that helped you to develop who you are right now?
Yeah. I think at the age of 10, 11, Alejandro, I understood that I couldn't rely on other people. The people around me, the adults, the people around me at the time, my parents especially, didn't have the resources to give me what I wanted, security. I felt I needed to get that myself. And so from the very early age of like 11, I think it was 10 and a half, 11, I started working, delivering newspapers. I started working in the fruit and vegetable shop on a Saturday morning. I started working on the farms over the summer holidays, because I needed to be, I had to rely on my own resources, on myself.
Wow.
So,
and how that changed you, like okay, because at the end those creates like defining moments, and how that defining moment, because if you create a belief like, okay, I need to be independent, I can rely on others, how that also like created anything, like a good thing or a bad thing, it doesn't matter, like what created in your process of now you have 25, 30, 35, and how that affect you, if affect you in any way?
yeah. Well, there was the positives and the negatives. Let's look at it. So from the positives, it actually made me very resourceful. It made me, and it's a very important trait in my being, is I'm very resourceful. If I don't have the resources, I will go and find it. I will go and find someone, or I'll find something. I will get the resources. So I'm a very resourceful person. One. Two, it also actually pushed me to take risks. It pushed me to actually become more mature and grow up very quickly. So I became a risk taker. So these are two very important traits in being an entrepreneur: being resourceful and also being willing to take risks, calculated risks, let's say. On the other hand, it also made me, I lost a lot of my youth, my childhood, because I had to grow up quickly. I had to understand what money was, and I had to look at people who wanted to take things away from me. So I also began like creating this barrier around me, which was negative. And so it stopped me from actually opening to other people. And so I really closed myself. I had the strength, I had the risk taking on the positive, let's say, but on the negative, I also was very, I didn't trust people.
Mm. Yeah, that's what sounds, and that part of not trusting people, because now everything that you are doing is helping people and trusting in people. So how was that change, and what did you needed to do to
Well,
really start to
first I had to write my book.
That's an amazing book, Free to Fly. That I love that title.
This book was a little bit of a confession, or it was maybe a liberation. I don't know, but it was everything that was holding me back. This is the weight I've been carrying for the last 40 years, 50 years, I don't know. And so when I wrote the book, and it's not a bestseller, the book is not like, I don't know, but it was like something that I had to write, and now it's out. It's given me the permission to actually be more and do more.
Mm. Wow. But that, do you feel that writing the book, how that started to help you? Like, okay, I need to trust, because with trust affects, if it's affecting relationship, it's affecting even the relationship with you, affecting the relationship with the people that you love, including your wife, your kids, affects also the relationship with your customers, or so how was that process? Like, okay, you started to write, or there was something that you needed to do with somebody else, like maybe a coach, somebody else to help you to understand what was happening?
Well, I think there was a trigger, two moments, very important moments that actually pushed me onto the personal growth and the coaching journey, which eventually led to me writing the autobiography as well. One was the passing of a good friend of mine. He passed away very painfully, very painfully. For 1 year, I assisted in his passing. What happened? Then he died. And another one was me coming to terms with something that I had inside of me was a lot of anger, a lot of. I was angry with the world. I was angry with people. I was angry with myself. I was angry with my parents. I was angry with the people who looked after me in the orphanage. I was not a happy person. And so I am now. I am now. But when I came to the acknowledgement of I said, Gary, you have a problem, i.e., your anger management is going to ruin you, is going to ruin your relationship, is going to ruin your family. When that sort of light came on, that was in about 2016, 2017, I started to actually change, pivot, move, change direction. And I went on a coaching journey. I did NLP, mindfulness, emotional intelligence courses, awareness courses, spiritual retreats. I invested all of this in me to understand myself. And so I got out of my comfort zone and invested my time, my energy, to take me to eventually to 2020, where this book just had to come out. It was like inside of me, and I had to just deliver the book. Let's say it's like when you have a child. You know, we're men, but when a woman has a child, the child has to come out.
Yeah. Wow. And you are talking about all these things that you were doing, like personal growth, and all the activities and the things NLP, all the things that you were learning. How long was that process of learning that, and how that started to develop a new Gary? If we can know that process, how was it for you?
But the process, Alejandro, started with me thinking that I was going to become a coach and make more money. Because I've always been focused on making money, right? Being from a young age, I opened my own language school here in Verona. We work in companies. So when I went on that personal journey, personal growth, learning about how to be a coach, immediately was how to make more money. But then when I started actually studying myself, my behavior, my thoughts, my interactions with people, I started understanding it wasn't about making money, but it was about making myself, becoming the new Gary.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning. And it became every day is something that I do. So it's
and how long was that process of finding the new Gary?
Well, I think it was a gradual. I mean, I say when I first started, I was thinking about making money and improving my business and becoming a mega business coach. I don't know, but then when I understood it wasn't about making money, it was just about me finding my interior, who I am really inside. It started in 2016, 2017, so that was about 7 years ago, and it's been an everyday, a drop in the ocean. You know, every day I do something, whether I read, whether I meditate, I listen to a podcast, I watch a video, I come on your TV show. It's something that goes towards my growth.
Love that. And in this process of growth and of trusting, because we started to talk about this, like learning about how to trust with yourself, trust with others. That's where you started to create communities, because right now you and I am going to talk about that. That's the way I knew you. It's with this Be Well community that you created. That is amazing. Like really helping each other to connect. When you started to like, okay, not only I need to trust, but I want to create a trustable community to help a lot of people. How was that process of transforming?
Yeah, it's a good question. Again, on the journey was the journey of discovering myself, but discovering what I had and how I could become more and actually realize, self-actualization, self-fulfillment to help other people. Because you come into the world to make money, to make a name, or to help people. At the end, you go through a process. First, you start making money. Then you start making a name for yourself, for recognition, and then eventually you will get to the point where you have to give back. And so my journey of connecting and contributing began, like I started in 2021, when I asked myself, but how can I give back? I've always been very attached to money and to possessions because I never had any. And so I said, you've got to give back. You've had a good life. You've got to give back. 1. 2, I've been very closed and not opening because I'm scared of other people entering my world, and I feel vulnerable. So I never connected. So I said, let's the 2 main fears, connecting and contributing, will be my goal. And so I began by first volunteering. I volunteer in a homeless shelter. I started doing that, going there and just helping people. Then I joined 2 or 3 associations and I became a mentor for their young people. So young people who want to start a business, and I help them clarify their ideas. And that wasn't enough. I wanted more. And so about a year ago, I said, I'm going to do something bigger than this. I'm going to go online and I'm going to connect with everyone online, Zoom. So I began with this initiative of mine called Be Well, which is business and entrepreneurial well-being. And I bring people like Alejandro and other uh, professionals to come on the Be Well webinar meeting, and we connect with people from all over the world, and we share our journey and our knowledge. And that's what that's what I do now.
And I love that, and maybe that opens the door for another question that I have that can help also to people, because I know in my personal life, understanding how to balance or harmonize, I don't know, what do you believe more, between your life, your work life, and your personal life, is key. So we are like, okay, sometimes we are so focused, we are good at making money, and that's what I am understanding from you too. It's like, okay, since I was 10, I started to focus on my professional life and achievements, and finding what is the next step, working on that. But normally the problem with that is our personal life is less and less and less time, and less activities. So how do you, with what you do right now, how do you balance that, or help you, or you help entrepreneurs to struggle with that? Like, okay, there is a balance, not completely a balance. I believe more in harmony than in balance. But uh, how do you help them to understand, like, okay, I know that you need to reach all your goals, and that's okay, that's fine. But your personal life is part of your goals, not only the professional ones.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right there. I think we have a talent. We all have a talent, and if you're an entrepreneur, you're a manager, you're a police officer, whatever, you have a talent and you have a role, and I think that's important. So when we talk about work, you are in a role, and so it's important that you play the role well. When you're in the family, you have a role. You're a father, you're a husband, you're a partner. You have to play that role well. So there isn't a distinction between work and family. It's just one. There's only one Alessandro. Alejandro is at work, as in family. You are who you are. And I think that's important. We should go take a step back, basically, and really understand Alejandro and who is he, and his values and his vision and his fears and his beliefs, and put it all together and just say, okay, that is Alejandro at work, but it's the same person with his partner and with his children. And so there is no separation. And so to understand that means that you give Alejandro the right amount of time in everything that he does. And so if I'm playing tennis, or if I'm at work, or if I'm in the Be Well, or if I'm in here, I hope that I'm just portraying the same values that someone who's watching this will say, oh, I know that guy. He's the same Gary that I play tennis with. So that I think that's very important.
And I love that answer. Like, this at the end is the basics of everything, like understanding that we are one with everything. But and that process, like, if you can give us an example when you have an entrepreneur that normally, like, or a professional that normally they have like everything divided in their heads, like, so having this understanding is powerful. What you are saying is completely powerful. But from, like, reading a book that this is the way, to being in the practice, like, okay, now I get it, and now I understand that I am one with everything. How is that process? And if somebody is listening right now, like, yeah, I know that I am one, but really I am completely different when I am with my wife. I am completely different when I am with my kids. I am completely different when I am at work. And I feel that I thrive when I am at work, but in the other areas I am not thriving. So how do you deal with that?
I work with entrepreneurs, people who top of their game, the CEOs or the owner of the companies, and very often these people that come to me don't want to make more money, but they come to me saying they want to make more money, and can I help them? But when we go a little bit deeper and I dig deeper, what I find is that they've lost contact with themselves. They've lost contact with their passion. They've lost contact with the simple things. They're top managers. They are like multi-million dollar companies, and they can change companies, and they have no problem. They don't ask me for business advice. They ask me for life advice, which is really shocking. You know, I think well, me. I give you an example. For example, I had he was an owner of 3 or 4 companies, and he came to me. He wanted to improve his English because he wanted to go to Brussels, where there were more funds available for his company to make more money. He already had 3 companies. Okay, so. And we were talking and this and that. And after a few sessions, I got deeper into it because you get to really know the person. And I said to him, I said, what is it that really is missing in your life? Because he had a family, he had money, he had everything. I said, what is it that you really would like to do? And I was really surprised. He said, I'd like to play golf. Now, it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't the answer that I was expecting. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I used to play golf at the weekends, but I don't do that anymore because I'm so stressed with all these 3 companies and all the work and everything that we're doing that I don't find the time. And I said, what would that make you feel if you could play golf? He said, I would feel like, you know, again, like a child, and I'd feel so happy and this. And so we planned it together. And I said, okay, this is going to be our objective. You're going to go and play golf. And he said, well, I could do that maybe on a Sunday morning. And I said, no. We have to do this on a Wednesday morning. During the week, in the morning when you should be working. And so he panicked. I can't do that. Impossible. Who's gonna run my companies for me, and who's gonna do this, and who's gonna do that? And there was the taking away. You are not the center of the galaxy. You are Alejandro. You are Gary. So we worked on this, and then one day, with a real pleasure and surprise, he phoned me, and he said, "You know where I am?" I said, "What? In the office?" He said, "No, I'm on the golf course." It was a Wednesday morning. He was playing golf. and that was such a result for me, but also for him, because it showed that that was his passion. That's where he needed help, not to make more money. So it's very important finding that balance, understanding and keeping touch with yourself.
And quick question, you always work with this top management like the CEOs or also with directors or managers inside of those companies?
Usually people contact me, people who are in high positions, because very often these people are very low. It's very lonely at the top. So when you get to top, you find that you can't talk to other people. And so you're looking for an accountability partner. You're looking for a partner, but you're looking for someone who can listen to you, who's someone from the external, not internal organization. And so when I come there, I come with a different perspective, and I come there with a much more open mind and not knowing what's the background. So I'm much more malleable, more easy for them to talk to me and open up.
And I love what you are saying at the end, understanding and working with them. How do you develop that like a skill or the idea or the passion to work with them? Where you started to create this belief like, okay, I can work with them and they need me and I am here to help them. How was that process?
Because I see them as my friend. So I think it's very important, even though they have their secretaries and I have to go through the secretaries to get an appointment. So it's not that easy. These people are moving around the world. So like I might see them once a month, not every week. And they've got a whole line of appointments after my coaching session or whatever, immediately there's another meeting and so on. But when I see them, I actually get down to the level of friendship, of actually heart to heart, person to person. And before we go into talking about strategies of business or whatever, is how are you? How are things going? Are you still going to the gym? Are you still playing golf? What about that music? Did you go to that concert? I really connect with that person there. And then we open up and ask them, so how are things going? Oh, we've got some problems with the recruiting. And then we go and we start talking about business too.
And why that became important for you, like for Gary? Now you're talking about them, and I love that. But for Gary, why for you them are important, and you wanted to work with them? What was?
It's important, Alejandro, that I am who I am. If that makes sense. I'm not. I can't pretend to be someone else. So I can't pretend to be a business guru. I can't pretend to be Tony Robbins or I don't know, whoever. And so for me, it's very important that I talk to you from where I am, so you can see me. And if I talk to you about my school or my passion for tennis or walking in the mountains or whatever it is, you know that I'm talking to you really honestly and openly. And I think that's very important, because people at the top never know who they have around them. And so people at the top are always very close because they're afraid of opening up, of being vulnerable. And so I'm entering an area of your life, of these people's lives, that's very delicate. And so I have to open up too. I open up and they open up.
That's very important. Tell me, with it, all this process of learning and developing the new Gary and understanding all of that, what, like, if we have people in the audience, we have different people, like all different levels. So how personal growth and working on yourself is really important and was key for your life? Like, what are some examples that can show them, like, okay, when I started to do that and I started to work on myself, suddenly this started to happen in my life. These things started to change. And I was with this anger management and all of that you were talking to us before. But how that working yourself really develop what you really want to reach?
Yeah, I think two very important points there, Ariana. One is looking at your habits, looking at how you behave, how you wake up, how you eat, what you eat, how you speak, how you move. Basically, observe yourself. I started this. I started a challenge. I read this book this is again on the personal. When you start the personal growth, it's not just one book or one course. And you do that, and then everything opens up, and by magic you become whoever you are. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. It's like you go down a path, and the path has different little side roads that you take, and it's a discovery. It's maybe making a mistake and coming back onto the path, reading a book, putting it down, taking up a challenge, putting it down, and so on. And this happened to me about 3 years ago, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I picked up a book called The 5 a.m. Club. The 5 a.m. Club, okay? And it's written by a writer called Robin Sharma. The 5 a.m. Club. And I don't know if you know this book. Anyway, I picked it up and I said, what is this book about? And I started reading. And this writer was saying that, you know, if you want to get things done, you've got to get up early. You don't want to be sleeping. And he said, the 5 a.m. Club. I thought, wow, who gets up at 5 a.m.? Me. So I took the challenge. I took it up. I took up the challenge and I read the book. And I said, it's not enough just to read. You've got to put it into action. And so one of the important things is you don't read personal growth books. You study the books.
Mm.
So that's also very important. When we talk about language, it's important that we don't read. We read novels, we read newspapers, but we study personal growth books. So I studied that book. I took it all in and I put it into practice. I started waking up at 5 in the morning, exercising, a little bit of peace, meditating, learning something new, and it completely started changing. Because once I did that, I changed my eating habits. Once I changed the eating habits, I actually chose, and I changed what I chose to eat. It wasn't just a croissant and coffee. Now it became something a little bit more nutritionist, you know. So it was fruit and yogurt and all that kind of stuff. And so when you change something, it's like a domino effect, a rippling effect. It changes other things too. So those are the things I would say. Like when someone start with what you're doing. Look at just an inventory on how you are tomorrow morning. What time you wake up? What do you do? What do you eat? How do you get to work? And then start from there and say, okay, can I do anything better? And start there.
Well, and yeah, for me, the 5 a.m. club was again. Maybe we were reading maybe the same time,
Yeah.
because like 2, 3. Yeah, it was in the middle of the pandemic that I started to go out and run at 5 a.m. Like, okay, I know that we are supposed to be at home all week, all the time, but during the mornings, there is nobody outside, and I was going outside and running, and using that time to start to improve myself. And for me, I agree with you, has been a very transformative thing. And I love what you are saying. Personal growth are not about reading, but about studying. And I learned that also. Like, I love to read completely, and I start reading every book, including personal growth. But normally, the second time I finish reading once, and it's like, okay, now let's study. Like, I have the full idea and the full understanding of what the author wants to say. Now let's go deep, and suddenly it's another book. It's like, okay, where is this coming from? So I love that.
Yeah.
In these lessons from entrepreneurship, something that happened to me in entrepreneurship, I was in corporate for 15 years, something like that. Then I moved to entrepreneurship, and I started to face a lot of things of me, like fears and different things that I didn't need to deal when I was in the corporate. And that started like, okay, what it is, like, why I need to be like this, why I need to work on these areas. Did you have something similar, like with this entrepreneurship? And what are some recommendations that you can give to the people that are like, okay, yes, I am working in the entrepreneurship, but every time that I want to go to the next level, I have to see the person in the mirror.
Yeah. I think it's just being just saying the same things basically, Alejandro. You have a role in my company. I'm the owner. I'm the leader. I have the role, and so when I speak to my team, whether I'm hiring or I'm firing, I am in a role. It's nothing personal, and so when things go wrong, it's my job to talk about that. And one of the things is important that if I don't talk about it, I'm not being authentic. I'm not being truthful or real to myself. It happened to me a few years ago. We had a company, and we were doing language training in a company. And one of the teachers, because I'm also the owner of a language school in Verona, so I do coaching, but I'm also the owner, so I'm also an entrepreneur. And we were working in this company, and we'd received a few complaints about the teacher being late, or the teacher, whatever, what was happening. And I chose not to listen to the complaints, okay? Because I was distracted, I was focus on other projects and so on, and I let that go. So what happened was, one day we received another, I think the company was about to cancel the contract because the teacher was just not reliable at all. And in the end, we lost the contract. We lost the company. And when I spoke to this another entrepreneur, a woman, I remember she said to me, and this was an important lesson that I still, for years, I carried that with me. And she said, Gary, you are just as responsible as that teacher for losing that contract. It wasn't just the teacher, it was also you, by not taking an action, not taking, making a decision, meant that you lost that business. So I think that's also a very important lesson to take away. When you're in a role, you have to play the role, whatever it requires. And it's only a role in a professional sense at work. And that's what I do. So when we have a meeting and when I need to speak, I just say, I say it because that's what people expect me to say, because that's my role.
And in that example that you're giving me and giving us, if you can go deeper, what did you find in yourself that why you didn't want to confront that or work on that? Like, okay, I was missing a lot of things, but what do you saw at the end?
I was afraid of confrontation. I was afraid of challenging the teacher. I was afraid that I wasn't sure of myself, because at the time I wasn't at peace inside. And so by not being secure inside, you avoid challenges. And so by actually now working on myself, I'm able to face challenges because I know who I am. And I know when I say things, it's straight from the heart and it's straight from the role. It's nothing personal. I have to speak to you, Alejandro, because this is not going well. You are responsible for this, and please fix it. And then I'm gone. That's me saying that in my role.
Yeah, I love that. We have like 6 more minutes, 7 minutes. It's incredible how fast it was. Tell us a little bit how people can reach you. What are the things like, okay, I love everything about Gary, or maybe I am interested in knowing more about Be Well, how people can reach you, connect with you. What are the things that you are offering now?
Yeah, I'm not very social media oriented. I've got to say that. So let's be open. I have a LinkedIn page, Gary Marcus Judge, LinkedIn. You can find me there. I have a website called GaryMarcusJudge.com, and that's where you'll find a little bit of the Be Well journey. So it was me offering my services as a coach, as an entrepreneur, as a guide for people who want to start up, people who are having some difficulties motivating themselves in the middle, and people who want to get out of the business, but they want to get out with their heads held high. So they don't want to just sell up, but they want to get out in the right way. So helping them with their exit strategy. So that's what I do with the GaryMarcusJudge.com website. I'm also the owner of the Green School. It's a language school called Green School, as in the color. What would be a dream, I think, for the Green School would be for the Green School to do language training in Guatemala, or language training in Mexico, or in other parts of the world, because I feel like the world is opened up now, and there are no limits. And so whether it's language training or coaching, I think the world can connect on a global level.
Yeah, and that's something that even here we have this conversation in a TV station that is in Canada, and suddenly you are in Italy, I am in Mexico, and we are connected worldwide with a lot of people, and that's the magic of what is happening now, this globally part. Gary, if people maybe forget half of what we talked today, but you want them to remember something, like, okay, these are the 2 things, the 1 thing, the 5 things that you want them to remind. and maybe it can be aligned with what you have also in your book about some of the lessons that you learned. What is that?
I think it's life's very short. I think we've got to look at the big picture. The big picture is life is short. If you live 100 years, it's already a miracle. Okay, you're here. In 100 years, you've got an opportunity to do something fantastic, to actually do something with your life. And so I think that the thing is to start, dream big. Why not? There's nothing wrong with dreaming big. Maybe the dreams will come true, or you will at least you'll fail trying to dream big. And so I tell my 3 children, I have 3 children, and I tell them, I said, paint your life, paint a masterpiece. Because at the end, you can look, when it's your time to go, look back, look at that painting and just say, I've lived a good life. And so start by looking at that big picture and say, well, I want to put some family there. I want to put some health there. I want to put some wealth there, and actually create that masterpiece. And you can do it. And so as you get, and slowly, you see the painting come to life.
And I remember that your website is your full name, right? Gary Marcus Judge.
Yeah, GaryMarcusJudge.com.
So for anybody, if you want to see a little bit more about what Gary is doing, and if there is a match of what you are doing with him, really, you can connect with Gary. And Gary, it was really a pleasure. Thank you for being here late for you. It's almost 11 p.m. for you. And I know that these shows are always live, and that's the reason I have you here awake. But really, thank you for this, and thank you for all your wisdom. For me, it was really great to hear all your stories, even your openness. And it's incredible because you are talking about not trusting, and suddenly you trust to a big audience telling a lot of things that you were going through. So that's amazing. Just with that, we can see that.
I think this is the power of personal growth and transformation. I think when you put yourself on this journey, miracles can happen. And I'm here to say that because exactly I don't believe it myself, but it's happened, and I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to Alejandro as well for inviting me onto the show, and hopefully what we've spoken about, someone will take something away, and I think that's going to be our legacy, is just for people to take some of this away and put it into practice.
And something that I have from everything that you are saying, and I want to extract is this part of you share a different part of your life where you needed to work on yourself again and started to change because you found that something is missing. And at the end, that's part of the journey also. It's like being open to see like, okay, there is something missing here that I need to work on myself to understand. Even this part that you are sharing about this professor, it's like, okay, why I am not taking this role? So if you are in any of those situations and having a conversation with us, it can help you to really create this belief system that can help you to succeed in what you are doing. So yeah. Gary, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being here with us. Believe in yourself, believe in your life, believe in your business. That's exactly what we are talking here. And this show is also a way of giving back. So I am doing what you are doing, Gary. This community and giving back, it's part of what I'm doing here. So thank you for being here, and everybody. This show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and leave it. Thank you all. See you next week. Bye.